Welcome to the mayhem. Dick and Loy mayhem. Media mayhem. Marketing a mayhem. You might love it, you might hate it. It's my favorite freaking show.
Oh, no. Oh, here we go. Dick, why did you have to ask him that? Oh, crap. What is he gonna say?
What is Loy so concerned about? Stay tuned as we sit down with Bruce Cameron, a Kansas City native who is an international book author and scriptwriter. His series, A Dog's Purpose, and then a follow-up, A Dog's Journey, A Dog's Way Home, have been very, very successful books. And he was on a current tour. We had a chance to sit down and chat with him, and let's get to it.
Dick, today we are with probably the hottest writer in the family fiction genre and films, but he's really known most famously for being at Shawnee Mission East with me.
Is that it?
Yeah, back in '74.
You guys shared some classes and things?
We did.
Yeah, okay.
Biology class.
Okay, yeah.
Totally screwed him up.
Oh, my.
Bruce Cameron.
Hi, Bruce.
Hey.
And Bruce is here. He's got another book in the world of dogs. Tell us about it. What do you got going on now?
Yeah, it's my newest one. It's called A Dog's Promise, and it takes it's the third book in the A Dog's Purpose series. So it takes our Bailey, our dog we've seen in 2 movies now, and now Bailey is a wise old soul. He's an angel dog, and he's sent on a mission. He's got to go back and help a particular family in a particular place. I don't want to plot spoil, but I will say that this one is pretty different in terms of you still have a dog point of view, but I've changed up the genre. I've made it. There's some twists here that you won't see coming because that's what I like to do. In the first book, A Dog's Purpose, Bailey kept living with other people, learning things from his lives in order to find his way back and help his boy. And his boy by that time was an older man. Then in A Dog's Journey, I changed it, and Bailey finds his way back to the same person each time. Now the dog finds his way back to a sort of a family and some people who maybe need to be in the family, and helps bring them all together in a way that's very important because there's a very important promise to be fulfilled.
Okay, so this is the third. Is this the final in this? Is this a trilogy?
I think it's a trilogy. I don't anticipate writing another one, but when I wrote A Dog's Purpose, I didn't think I was going to write another one.
Now, you also worked on screenplays for each of these, right?
Yeah.
So
we've been
the first
fortunate.
2 big hit films, you kind of built a genre there you could drive a truck through now. I mean, this, there's nothing else like this out there, and man, did it connect with the audiences.
Yeah, having a movie where the dog is a real dog and narrates it's a challenge to write, but it's fun, and it's so fun for the family to all get together and listen to a dog's thoughts. What the dog is thinking at any particular moment may not be exactly what we think it's thinking.
What is the meaning of life? Are we here for a reason? Is there a point to any of this? And why does food taste so much better in the trash? This was me, and then this was me. Then I came back as this little guy. A lot of lives for one dog to live, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start at the beginning.
I'm a new soul.
For me, it all began with a boy. His name was Ethan.
Bailey, 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 Bailey.
My name was Bailey, 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 Bailey.
No! Come on, Bailey, do it.
What does he want from me?
Get it out. Get it out.
Whenever life got Ethan down, I knew exactly what to do.
Ready?
I'm ready.
Go, Bailey!
We played with that ball all afternoon. Ethan loved it. Sometimes he just needed a little nudge.
Oh,
Whoa!
sorry. That was the dog. That wasn't me.
Okay, well, maybe you should teach your dog some manners.
We spent every day together. Were they fighting over food? No, nothing in there. As the years went by, I could tell my time with Ethan was coming to an end.
Good boy, Bailey. I'm gonna miss you.
And then, it happened. I was back. I didn't have I'm a girl?
Good girl, good girl.
I had a new purpose. I was needed again. And again. And again.
Hi, you.
With each new life, I was learning a new lesson. Have we met before?
Where did you find that? Okay, ready? Go!
I tried to make sense out of all the things I'd seen. Was there a point to this journey of mine? And how did bacon fit in? If I can get you licking and loving, I have my purpose.
Ethan, why do you always have this dog with you? It's like a girlfriend replacement or something?
The dog's laughing at you.
Dogs don't laugh.
That's funny.
Well, tell us about your writing partner.
Well, her name is Cathryn. We get along so well as writing partners, we've gotten married. And
okay. Which came first, the marriage or the writing?
The writing came first, and that's a great question, though.
Yeah.
In fact, I say that the writing preceded any sort of relationship, and she agrees with that part. But then I tell the story of how we got together, and I'm like, so I'm writing with this woman. She's very attractive, and she's really smart and funny, and we just I just noticed one day that we were dating, and she says, no, that's not what happened. You romanced me, you took me out to dinner and all that. I'm like, I remember we were hungry and we ate. I don't remember it being a date.
We ordered in.
Yeah. So
you just did it so gracefully that she was just in awe, probably.
Yeah, I just thought one day we're like married. I don't know. It seemed like a natural evolution. But I think I was much more romantic when it came to the whole proposal thing. But the dating thing, I just sort of felt like that was organic, as they say.
Now, how long ago was that? When did that blessed event happen?
Well, I moved out to L.A. in 2002 in order to work on the show 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter, which was based on my very first book. And so that's about when I started working with her. She had a contract to write a novel, and she had never written a novel before. Mm-hmm. And I had a contract to write a screenplay, and she had written screenplays. So I said, let's help each other. Let's mentor each other. And so that's
like the peanut butter and chocolate thing just happened.
That's right. Yes. Uh-huh.
That's great.
Right. Let's talk about the 8 rules here.
Yeah.
Are they based on a real person, a real daughter?
I had 2 teenage daughters at the same time, which is a hell I don't want any parent to go through. Mm-hmm. Please, for God's sake, space them out. So you've got one out the door before the next one hits the teenage years. Mm-hmm. It was I just felt I felt trapped. I felt like I was living in a zombie movie because my daughters, they were so cute and they wore bunny slippers, and they come downstairs the next day and it looks like they're going to go try out for pole dancing positions. And I'm like, you're not going to school dressed like that. And what happened to your face? You can't put that on your face. And then the boys just naturally start getting attracted to this. It's like zombies smell blood.
Okay.
It's like they would come, and you open the door and they look like zombies and they smell like zombies, And I'm like, get out, go away. But even as you're doing that, another one's coming down the driveway. So I wrote 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter. Rule number 1, if you pull in my driveway and honk, you better be delivering a package because you're not picking anything up.
That's not the doorbell, huh?
Yeah. So that, and because like the young men who would slouch and mumble and evade my eyes, they made me so suspicious. I knew they were up to something.
Yeah, well, those were the ones that made $1 billion. But
yeah, the ones who came in and introduced themselves and looked me in the eye and shook my hand, they made me so suspicious. I knew they were.
Yeah. What have they got going on?
Yeah, so I was suspicious of them.
You were suspicious of
and the reason there are 8 rules and not more is I was limited to 700 words.
Oh, I see.
Otherwise, I could have kept going.
Okay, yeah. Now that evolved into a television series. Tell
Yes.
us about that, how that worked out for you.
Yeah, it was one of those dumb things. I started a career as a columnist by writing a column on the internet. We would call it a blog today.
All right.
But it went out via email. There was I didn't post it anywhere. And this was back before spam. So, which I think that's your business. Don't you send spam? Okay. So, so I started, everybody was like really excited to get emails. So it was like, what do you do with this computer you got for Christmas? Well, you sign up for my column. And at one point I had 50,000 readers in 52 countries.
Wow.
Counting Texas as its own country.
Yeah. Okay.
And that attracted the attention of the editor of the Denver Rocky Mountain News, and he started running my column. So now I'm writing a column. I'm a columnist. I didn't see that coming. And then I wrote this column, 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter, and I got emails from all over the world, and everybody went nuts for it, and it went viral before that was a thing, and so
was that just the result of a column that kind of kept going and spun off of that?
Yeah. So I eventually wound up making a book proposal, getting a book published called 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter. It made it on the New York Times bestseller list, and then some guy named Andrew Gunn, who was a producer for Disney, was stuck in an airport. He had bought the book for his brother-in-law. He saw it in the bookstore, and he thought, this will be fun. And my brother-in-law has a daughter, and then he was stuck in the airport, and so he sat and started reading it, and then I get an email out of the blue from some guy who says he's working for Disney saying, have you ever thought about making this into a movie? And I said, oh, sure. What am I going to say to that? And so I was hired to write that screenplay, and then they decided to make a TV show out of it. But by then I had a career as a screenwriter. I had an agent, and I was writing screenplays, and then I wrote a bunch of screenplays that didn't make it, and a couple of TV shows that I got paid for but didn't get on the air. And that's very typical for Hollywood.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I know people who are very rich and they live in the Palisades and they've never gotten a show on the air. They've just been able to sell pilots.
It's all the pilots, yeah. I've noticed when I was out there, either you're in a car that's very nice, or you're in a car that has a different fender from what it was originally built into. And there are two different people working out there.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, Bruce, the original book, when you got it published, did you go through the typical rejection to get it published, or did you catch a cog right away?
I was atypical in that I wrote 9 unpublished novels before I sold 8 Simple Rules. So I had lots of rejection. I was rejected my whole life, right around the time that I graduated with you from high school back in, it was early 90s, whenever it was. I can't remember.
You look like you could pull that off. Bruce is the youngest looking guy from our class. I mean, you're really duking it out there with Bill Berkeley. But, so people watching this are probably going, those guys didn't go to high school together.
What do you
He's
mean?
got to be like 8 years older.
Well, I think you've had a hard life.
I have.
You've
High mileage.
partied maybe a little bit more than I have.
Well, yeah.
So anyway, right after high school, I started writing novels, and I never sold one. I didn't sell one for 20 years.
How did you keep going? Did you just have this feeling that you were going to succeed, or were you just kind of a masochist?
I've just always been a storyteller, and it was fun for me to write, and it still is fun for me to write. I kind of would rather do that than almost anything, and so it just felt like a natural thing when that book started coming back, being rejected by everybody. It just felt natural to say, well, I can do a better one, and sit down and start writing again. But I was chasing the market, so when they wanted international thrillers, I wrote an international thriller, even though I'd never been anywhere but Canada internationally, and I set it in Managua, Nicaragua, which in my telling looks just like Winnipeg. And that was a complete failure. So I had a lot of failure, but I just didn't give up.
So you love the process of writing.
Yeah.
What's your day like? I mean, you're working on this new screenplay, I assume, to accompany this latest
We sold A Dog's Promise to Amblin, the same company that made the A Dog's Purpose and A Dog's Journey. And so A Dog's Promise, let's keep our fingers crossed, will be in theaters in a year or so, maybe 2021.
Now, as the writer of the movie, how much are you involved once you turn it over and sell it to them?
Well, more than most screenwriters, because we're very tightly connected to the producer, Gavin Pallone.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to Gavin with A Dog's Purpose and said, here. And so he took it around to sell it, and he repays that favor by getting us involved very much. And we sit in the tent with him in the video village, and we watch the filming. And if we have a comment, we make it to Gavin, and if he thinks it needs to be told to the director, he'll go say it to the director.
Okay,
that's unusual.
It's
I mean,
a
lot of screenwriters, they go on set, they eat their muffins and they sit there and drink coffee, and then they go home. And they're like, well,
yeah.
Now I have to confess, when I'm on set, I'm mostly playing with dogs. I mostly go there's always puppies, and I'm just always rolling around on the ground with the actors.
Well, and not because you like them, you just have to put on a show that acts like them. That's not true.
I mean, when I want to say rolling around with actors, I want to clarify. I'm not rolling around with Dennis Quaid.
Oh,
okay.
I'm just rolling around with the dogs.
How about Randy?
Randy Quaid, he hasn't shown up. I know that.
Well, tell me, what's your day like on writing? I mean, what's your discipline? What do you do? What do you do at different times? Do you get up early and bang it out?
If the word discipline applies to me, I don't see how. Yeah, in theory, I get up and get my coffee, take the dog for a walk, and then sit down and write for about 4 hours. In practice, I'll read email or watch puppy videos, and then realize, the day's halfway gone. I better. I mean, it's just like I really.
That doesn't happen too much, because I mean, you're a very prolific writer.
Yeah, when my daughters, my older daughter was a national level volleyball player. And so I am accustomed to going to volleyball tournaments and sitting in the bleachers and writing while she's practicing or playing. And I got to the point where I can write anywhere. In fact, I've got a novel open on my laptop right now over there. And when you guys clear out of here, I'm going to sit down and write this afternoon. That's just
so. When you're at the volleyball game, were you writing with a pen and paper?
Well, laptop in my lap.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Were the other parents disturbed around you that you were doing that?
You are.
I think
looking over your shoulders.
Yeah, I think the other parents were just disturbed that I was there.
Yeah.
People find me disturbing very often.
What about the book How to Remodel a Man?
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about that one.
Well, while I was on tour for 8 Simple Rules, I discovered there was a whole group of people who would like to change men, and I call those people women. And they were so enthusiastic about the idea when I told them I was thinking about writing a book that would explain how to change male behavior, that I thought, well, I've got to write that one. And How to Remodel a Man is just, tips and techniques for doing something that's really actually impossible. You have to trick a man into behavior. Like, here's an example. So some women say their husbands, and I know you're going to find this really hard to believe, their husbands don't manage to get their clothes into the laundry hamper. They get them near the laundry hamper sometimes, but they don't get them in. And so they were like, well, what do you do? I said, okay, you walk by one day and you say, I won today. I'm up by 2 points. Well, what are you talking about? I says, well, I made my shot. I got it into the laundry basket, but you missed. It's on the floor.
Damn,
and then he's like, I don't know. But then the next day he said, I won again. And the guy can't stand it. And so the next day he'll come in and say, hey, all the way from across the room. Right? Pretty soon he's actually changing clothes more often so that he can take his shot. He says, I'm up by 18 points.
Okay.
I think you probably changed some lives out there.
Yeah. The only other thing you can do is add a backboard to the laundry bin.
That's a great idea.
Wow. Where'd you now? What that book came out after the 8 Simple Rules?
Yeah, that was another great bestseller for me. It got me on Oprah, which is a thrill for any author. I was on a lot of the news shows.
Of course, that got you on Oprah. You were giving up all the trade secrets.
That's right.
You went to the queen of the other side.
I did. Well, listen, I betrayed my team, but that's okay because, like I said, it doesn't actually work. You can't actually change a man's behavior. Not the way women want to.
True that.
Once the scorekeeping is over, the clothes go back on the floor.
Right.
Sure,
you can't keep playing forever.
Yeah. What's rattling around in your brain for the future? Any thoughts, ideas, areas, anything?
I'm going to write a sequel to A Dog's Way Home, which was also a movie. I'm going to start that next. I've got a Christmas novella that I'm finishing up that'll be out next Christmas. It's brilliantly titled The Untitled Christmas Novella, so I'm probably going to come up with something else before it comes out. I write these younger reader books. I write 2 of those a year now. They're really fun for me, and my latest one, Lily's Story, just came out. Lily's Story is the story of a dog, a puppy who gets rescued and then winds up living at an animal rescue, and gets involved with rescuing other animals, and to the point where I'm going to start a new series based just on Lily, called Lily to the Rescue, and the first 2 books are being published simultaneously in March of 2020, and Lily then will go on. Hopefully, I know I've contracted for 8 books. So
are these larger format books, or
these are
hardbound?
These are between. They are hardcover. They are between the what we would call a picture book, where there's a picture on every page with a little bit of text, and then you've got like the chapter books, which are like Charlotte's Web would be a chapter book. A younger reader book. In between, they've got this category called chapter books, and chapter books is fewer illustrations, but a lot of illustrations, and they do have chapters rather than just being one story.
And those are for 8 to 10?
Yeah, they're for, right. It kind of depends on when, younger readers, some of them are really precocious and are reading when they're 5 and 6. But yeah, I would say anywhere 1st grade to 3rd or 4th grade.
What were you reading at 6?
I was reading. I was one of those kids. Where not him, but my father. I was actually Herman Woke, because my father got tired of me coming home from the Scholastic book fair with every book. Like, I would just circle them all, because they said any book you want. So okay. So he said, all right, well, we're not doing that anymore. He walked me into the living room, he showed me a bookshelf, and he said, okay, that's the books you're reading right there. And so I started, and I had a lot of questions for him. Like when I read Marjorie Morningstar, there's sex in that. And I'm like, okay, what does this word mean? And he goes, go ask your mother. So I was reading adult books when I was a little kid.
Well, there you go. And now you're writing, you're a grown man and you're writing little kids' books.
I'm writing little kids' books, yes. That's either irony or justice. I don't know. There's a word for this.
Who does your illustrations for those books?
We've got some really talented illustrators working on Lily's, the Lily to the Adventure books, and we've got an illustrator for the younger reader books, and a better prepared author would tell you their names, but I
no. Now, with all of your books about dogs and what they're thinking and things, are you approached constantly by the rescue people around the country?
And that's great. I contribute books all the time for like silent auctions. I'll sign books and send them out, and I've got an alliance with Best Friends Animal Society right now, which is an umbrella group that supports local charities. I'm in Kansas City, and I've done events that have supported Wayside Waifs here in Kansas City. In Denver, I just did an event for Life is Better Rescue. So I am approached, and I'm approachable. I love helping animal rescue. It's really important, and I'm so honored to know people who have dedicated their whole lives to helping animals who, through no fault of their own, they find themselves unable to survive without direct intervention of human beings.
And you live in Los Angeles?
I do live in Marina Del Rey, California now.
Okay, are you on the tour the Stars bus line yet? Anybody stopping by? That's Bruce's place.
When they see me crossing the street, they accelerate that bus.
Well, you and Cathryn do such a great job at these appearances. I've seen a couple of them. One was at a movie premiere that you had out in Overland Park.
Yeah.
And then you had one at the Dog Bar, the Barquet, for one of the books, and you bring the stars along with you, or the subjects, the dogs.
Yeah.
And they're so cute, and a lot of people I see, whole families come out, everybody's bringing their kids. It's really, I mean, I can't imagine anything else like that. You just kind of own that space, that whole genre, and you've been thinking like a dog now for a long time. You're doing the kids' books and this series. Have you found that changes the way you think? I mean, you spend a little too much time looking at fire hydrants, things like that.
Yeah, I'm very often finding it as a tennis ball in my mouth. I don't know how to get there. I have reminded myself over and over again to stop humping the neighbor's leg.
Yeah.
But I looking at the world through the eyes of a dog is looking at the world through the eyes of the most optimistic, joyful, happy creatures. And it has changed me.
Oh my gosh, it's therapy.
Yeah, it is. Well, and there's a life lesson here because, dogs are here for such a short period of time, and yet they make the most of every waking moment. And when we think about it, we're here for a very short period of time, and we should make the most of every moment, right? I mean, why would we squander? Why would we say, I'm going to kill some time? What do you kill time? You should. You need to embrace that time. You're not getting it back.
Exactly.
Like say, I'm going to kill some of my money.
Yeah.
So, great.
So this tour, you're in Kansas City for a couple days. You doing some TV.
Yes.
And then you've got a mad, crazy schedule. What do you got going on?
It kind of seems like I don't have any chance for sleep. I'll be at in Naperville doing a book thing tomorrow, and then I'm going to Atlanta, and I'm going to, after that, Baltimore, and then I just found out I'm going to Austin, Texas. I didn't know that.
Wow.
Phoenix, Traverse City, Michigan, Pittsburgh. So I got a lot of places.
Now, do you have someone an assistant that goes with you on these, that shows you where the TV station is, or the bookstore, or are you just out wandering with your GPS?
Yeah, I would love to have an assistant come with me on these things. Or I've tried to talk Cathryn, my wife, into coming, and nope, I'm out here on my own.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have, but I've got I've got a publicist, and I've got people taking care of me on the road because apparently I'm not capable of getting anywhere. Even in a town where I grew up, they don't want me driving. They said, no, we'll send somebody because you'll get lost.
Okay.
And I probably would.
Talk to me a bit about Loy in high school. What do you remember? Anything?
Oh, no. Oh, here we go. Dick, why did you have to ask him that? Oh, crap. What is he going to say?
Yeah, well, you had hair.
Yeah.
Loy in high school. So my favorite story to tell about Loy is just going to hate this will get cut. He decided that we had a substitute teacher in biology, and he decided that we.
No, la 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 la. No, cut that out. Squelch it, Dick. 86 this segment.
And then I could see that for Loy, he was so getting into the part that he started to feel sorry for himself.
No, la 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 la. No, cut that.
And then he wanted me to keep doing it. I'm like, this is not working. She could. I'm faking my way through it, but he just would not give it up.
I was like Mo Howard. I didn't want the act to die.
Yeah. That's phenomenal. Yeah.
Oh man.
Loy, how about any stories you might have about Bruce? Anything you remember out of the ordinary?
He was a well-behaved, normal.
I was under the radar.
Young man. He was indeed. He did nothing outrageous.
I was.
Except that death signaling.
Yeah, right. Okay, he was drawn in by the devil on that one.
Yeah,
wasn't he?
that happened.
I was president of the ecology club, which, contrary to my expectations, did not lead to a higher incidence of sexual intercourse.
Really? Okay.
No, it did
Yeah,
not.
I remember it was Eco Now, wasn't that your
No,
saying? But
no, somebody else.
You sure would have thought going that direction would have created some sort of application.
He was on the literary magazine staff that's called Giannis.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we were very pretentious.
And was there a lot of yawning going on?
It was
reading that?
Yeah. It was just one letter away from anus. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
So,
Coomerline was on that, wasn't he?
he might have been.
Yeah.
Well, that's marvelous. It's good to get you guys back together again.
Yeah, it's great that Bruce has become a huge celebrity and out in L.A. Now I've got a place where maybe I
Get another couch out in L.A.
Couch when I go back there to.
I don't remember issuing that invitation. Well, yeah. I will say that there's something that is very interesting about writing a series of books based on starts with a dog's purpose. And that has a premise that is easy to follow. A dog has several different lives, lives with several different people, and learns these skills that helps him get back to his boy. And then with a dog's journey, the dog is getting back to a person. In a dog's promise, the third one, I've turned that convention completely on its ear, and now the dog has a much more complex mission, which is to try to reunite a family that is torn apart, and it's torn apart in basically because there is a boy born a paraplegic, and the impact that has on that family sends ripples throughout their life. And as the dog is reborn and comes back, the dog's promise and purpose is to reunite the family, because there's something very important that has to happen, and it can't happen with them estranged from each other. So I've once again, I've done something I really like to do, which is to take a convention that's already established and then twist it up so that nobody says, oh, this is the same book.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's available now.
It's Dog's Promise.
Dog's
Yes.
Promise. And then look for it to become a film.
Yeah. 2021, let's keep fingers crossed. I mean, Hollywood is the strangest business. I always say that it's a series of no's to get to a yes. I mean, they just keep you keep hearing that it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen, and then all of a sudden you get a phone call, it's going to happen. And with A Dog's Purpose, that thing gathered dust for 7 years. We wrote the first screenplay, Cathryn and I did. It went through several drafts with several different writers. It got worse and worse until one pass was just, I've read all of them, and one pass was just unrecognizable as even a story. It was just so bad. And then something kind of miraculous happened. They hired another set of writers, and they said, try to make it more like the book. And they did. They just threw out all the junk that had nothing to do with the book, and the next thing you know, we're back in business. And I get a phone call saying, hey, you're not going to believe this, but DreamWorks has greenlit this movie.
Wow. So it's got to be difficult when you get that close to a project and it goes through all those rewrites to be able to go, this sucks.
Yeah.
Because you're so familiar with the storyline, and you just kind of lose track. You get
right. Well, but I will say, so as an author, an author really has full control over the content. Even when I pass it to an editor, the editor is going to have ideas and thoughts and objections, and I will handle those by deciding whether or not they're reasonable, and a lot of times they are. But then when you go into the motion picture business, you just have to recognize that it's out of your control, that the director of photography, the assistant director, the producer, the studio, they're all going to have their fingers in this pie. And then it's a collaborative art, which means that, I envisioned Ethan a certain way, and then KJ shows up to play young Ethan, and he said he's not what I pictured. He did a great job, but he wasn't what I had in mind. So you realize, there's there's no sticking to Bruce Cameron's vision in this. What there is that you start a process and then you hand it off to all the creative people, the costumers, the set decorators. They're all going to have input into the final product, and you just got to sort of shrug your shoulders and say, well, that's the business.
Do you have any input on the dogs that are playing in the movies?
Not really. I mean, I do. I insisted that Max in the movie A Dog's Journey be played by a Yorkie of some kind, because it's so important for that to be a little dog in a big city. That's kind of the joke of Max, and so. But there is also an extent to which it's kind of not my choice. Though I will say, for A Dog's Way Home, we were looking for a dog that looked similar to the dog on the cover of the book A Dog's Way Home, and the reason for that is that it's about a pit bull ban, and in Denver, the pit bull ban is enforced by 3 animal control officers saying that dog is a pit bull, and in theory they could say it about a dachshund. I mean, there's no code that says, and we're going to do a DNA test or anything. No, if they say it's a pit bull, it's a pit bull. And because in the book A Dog's Way Home, the characters, they run afoul of a real estate developer who's got a buddy who's an animal control officer, and the next thing you know, this dog, Bella, who on the cover of the book is part pit bull, I verified that, but doesn't really look like a pit bull. She gets banned, and she is sent away while her owners try to find a new apartment that's outside of Denver city limits. And the dog, of course, doesn't realize what's going on and jumps a fence and makes her way back home across hundreds of miles of Rocky Mountains. That's the story. We decided that dog has to be rescued. And the producer was in agreement, so we did a nationwide search and the internet is so helpful because we were able to look at the picture of the dog on the cover and then look for dogs in shelters. We found a dog outside of Tennessee, so Cathryn and I flew down with a dog trainer to meet this dog to see if this dog Shelby was going to work out, and Shelby did work out. Within 15 minutes, the animal trainer turned to us and said, this dog is motivated, this dog wants love, this dog is perfect. Shelby was living in a junkyard. We have no idea if she ever had human contact before we found her and saved her. So, and when I say we, it takes a village. It was a whole operation with Nashville, the Tennessee, I don't remember the county now. The county people found the dog, brought her to the shelter, cleaned her up, gave her medication, and posted her picture, and we saw it and said, that's the one.
Wow, that's an unbelievable story.
Yeah, so we had complete control over that dog. The long answer to your question. And I wrote about Shelby in a younger reader book called Shelby's Story, because it's just so amazing to go from junkyard dog to movie star. And I've seen Shelby in like a Walmart commercial or something. You know, I see her running around all the time now. And she was here in Kansas City with me when I ran into you the last time I had Shelby with me. So I see her all the time on the road, and that is, you talk about a story that warms the heart. Here's this dog that was living under terrible conditions, and now has the luxury of people taking care of her, and she, by the way, like all dogs, just rolls with it. Like
that's what I was going to ask you. Is Shelby any happier, or was Shelby? I mean, you know this now because you're the voice of dog.
Yeah.
So
dogs don't know they're living in miserable conditions.
Yeah, you always feel sorry for those dogs with the homeless guys.
Yeah.
And then you think, well, wait a minute, maybe that dog loves Campbell's pork and beans.
Right. Gets to hang out with
Dad all the time.
Person all the time. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, what about the younger reader books? Anything new? Is the Lily book, is that a new one, or what?
Yeah, Lily is brand new as of October 7th. Yeah, no, this was such a turning point for me, and I didn't even know at the time that my career was changing. I had this idea, this marketing idea, to stay with the theme of the show. I had this idea that if I could take the story of Ellie, the police dog, from A Dog's Purpose, and write just that story as a younger reader book, that would give me something to walk into the studios with and say, this needs to be a TV show. That idea never got traction, but that book, Ellie's Story, went on to win Colorado Younger Readers Association Award and a bunch of awards. I mean, I've never won awards before, and all of a sudden I'm winning awards for this book, and it sold very well, so naturally the publisher wanted another one. So I wrote Bailey's Story, which is the story of Bailey from A Dog's Purpose, but with no reincarnation and a lot of the drama sucked out of it, so that it's not as intense for younger readers, much more happy and joyous. And that just led to another and another, and so now I've got, 8 younger reader books out. And what has changed for me is that I go to schools and I talk, and I would go to schools all the time because I love kids, but all of a sudden I've got kids clutching my books when I walk in, and I've got teachers telling me, I've got kids who will not read books, but they will read your younger reader books because they've got a way in. There's a dog. They don't have any concepts or interfering with that. They don't have to try to identify with a girl, or if they're a boy, or try to identify with a boy going camping if it's a girl who likes to dress up and put on her mother's makeup or whatever. And then there's just that this is an entirely different character. It doesn't matter who you are in the world, doesn't matter what you look like or who your friends are. This is just told from the point of view of a dog, and so kids are really loving them.
You're having such a tremendous impact on all these kids. That's heady stuff.
That's why I say it has changed my life. I thought my purpose was to entertain people with my work, but now I'm actually helping to guide children toward a love of books, and I can't think of anything I've done in my life that has been as important as that.
Wow, that is really cool. You didn't see that coming at all.
It just caught me off guard.
Wow, fantastic. Now you're going to Rainy Day Books, is that right?
I'm going to be at Rainy Day Books.
Is that what all this tour is mainly, is independent bookstores?
Yeah, I'm very much in favor of independent bookstores. I don't have anything against the chains. In fact, I'm got a special edition of A Dog's Promise at Barnes & Noble on release date, and I certainly have sold a lot of books through Amazon. So I don't play favorites so much, but I do love the idea of independent bookstores where you can go in and they know your name and they say, oh, remember that book I gave you last week? I've got one that you're going to like. You're really going to like this one. I love that kind of concierge service that you get from an independent bookstore. And Rainy Day Books in Fairway, Kansas, of all places, is one of the best bookstores in the world. Everybody knows it. Anywhere you go, if you go to an independent booksellers convention and you mention Rainy Day, everybody nods because they know these people know what they're doing.
They certainly stuck to their guns.
Yeah.
And they really built a concept there.
And they're doing well. I mean, they like every brick and mortar store, the arrival of online purchasing really set them back for a while. And we all thought bookstores weren't going to make it. We all thought, yeah, that's the end. And the only ones that are going to make it are going to be Borders and Barnes & Noble because they're huge. But as we know what happened to Borders, it really now is last man standing with Barnes & Noble for the big chains. But the little independent stores have made their way back just because of that. Yeah. You take your kid in and let her run around, and she grabs a couple of books, and the person selling the books says those are good choices, and here's another one just like it, and pretty soon the independent bookstore has become like an entertainment destination for your family. Anything I can do to support that, I'm going to.
Well, you've done a lot. Great stuff. Thanks a lot, Bruce Cameron.
Very good.
Thanks for joining us with our little
whatever this is.
Whatever they call it.
Whatever this is.
Dick and Lloyd and me
and
Mark.
What is it?
What?
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right.
Thanks for squeezing us in with all these TV appearances and everything.
My pleasure. Yeah, good luck with this.
All right, thanks, Bruce.
This is going to be huge. This is going to be huge.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah, we'll be affecting children for years. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce, for chatting with us, and good luck on all your future endeavors. We'll be back again with more interesting people to talk with, and I think it's only fair if we showed a picture of Loy in high school that we should show a picture of me, too, in high school. Here you go. Who said anything about being fair?
You might love it, you might hate it. It's my favorite freaking show.